the Denver Broncos have pulled off what is probably more than likely one of the largest trades and most successful trades in the history of the National Football League, and that is by no means an exaggeration. They have acquired former feels weird to say that, but former Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, I believe he's about 32 years old. There's been rumors that he's been kind of clamoring to get out of Seattle for a few years now. The Seahawks really have not done a great job of maintaining their roster. They had an incredible run with him during his rookie contract. They had, just multiple players that they hit on in the draft: the Legion of Boom, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Michael Bennett. The list just goes on and on and on of players that they, particularly on the defensive side. Russell Wilson himself was a third-round quarterback in the 2012 season, and he had blossomed into pretty much an all-pro quarterback. He's been one of the elite quarterbacks. Some people might say he's fallen off the past couple years out of that list, but he's still a remarkable quarterback. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. And the Denver Broncos, for a lot of people, it really felt like they were a quarterback away. If you've seen my offseason profile of the Broncos, that's about where I put them as well. I said, really, this team feels like it's a quarterback away. And the big rumor of the offseason was that they were going to acquire Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. They had signed Nathaniel Hackett, the Packers' former offensive coordinator, as their head coach. And, even dating back to before the beginning of last season, Aaron Rodgers was rumored to maybe be eyeing the Denver Broncos. And ironically enough, on the day Aaron Rodgers decides to stay in Green Bay, they make the trade for Russell Wilson, which I think officials with both teams said that those talks had dated back to a couple weeks. So it was not in response to Aaron Rodgers. This was a trade that it looks like would have happened regardless of what happened with Aaron Rodgers. So, the Seahawks give up Russell Wilson, and I think they gave up a 4th-round pick. And in return, they got tight end Noah Fant. They got defensive lineman Shelby Harris. They got 2 firsts. They got 2 seconds. I think they got a 5th and a 6th or something like that. The lower end picks. And, I don't think I'm saying anything new here. I don't think I'm saying a hot take. I think this is kind of, from what I've seen, this is how kind of everybody feels. The Seahawks lost this trade. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. And really, I don't know if there was a way for them to win this trade. I don't know what you can reasonably get back. Oh, I'm sorry. They also got Drew Lock. I should have said that. Quarterback Drew Lock, just included in the package. But I really don't know how you trade away a quarterback, an all-pro quarterback, a future Hall of Fame quarterback that is still, maybe on the close, he's still in his prime, maybe on the, back 9 of his prime to say, but he's still in his prime. I don't know how you trade that kind of player and get value back for it, equal value back. It's just impossible. So, I think everybody's going to say they lost this trade, but quite honestly, I don't know how they could have even remotely tied this trade. There's just no way possible to trade that and get equal value return for a franchise quarterback at that level. Sorry for Seattle, but the Denver Broncos, to me, they automatically become contenders. Now, they are in a very tough division, and they have Justin Herbert, they have Patrick Mahomes, and then the 4th quarterback now seems to be Derek Carr, which Derek Carr's no scrub himself. So, this AFC just got a lot more loaded than it already was, and it was already really loaded. So I don't want to go as far as to say the Denver Broncos are now Super Bowl contenders. I think even with Russell Wilson and the loaded team that they do have, because they got a lot of weapons, their offensive line has been improved. Their defense is pretty solid. I still think they have quite the road to go to make a Super Bowl push. So obviously they should be in the playoffs. I don't see this team missing the playoffs. I think, you can maybe take out, you're going to have to take out a few teams out of who made the playoffs this past year and figure out who's going to get put in there, because you got to feel like the Chargers in their own division are going. You got to feel like the Broncos at this point are going. That's going to put the Raiders in fourth place in that division, and unless the all three wild card slots are taken up by the remaining three teams in a division that aren't the division winner. One of these teams is not going to the playoffs next year, and that's a little wild to think of. I would guess it's the Raiders, but I mean, even then, if you have, if you have the Broncos and you have the Chargers and the Chiefs who all get in, like I think they probably will, you have one wild card spot left. So the Bills and the Patriots. Well, okay, so maybe the Patriots can get in, but then you're leaving out maybe the Dolphins. You're leaving out. If the Browns win, you're leaving out the Ravens and the Bengals. Two of those three teams are getting left out. That's not even mentioning the Steelers. And then, in the AFC South, if the Titans win, we're probably leaving out the Colts. And what if the Jaguars have a bounce back year with Trevor Lawrence going into his second year? Probably not, not good enough to at least make the playoffs. But, it just really gives you an idea of how loaded this AFC is. And this past year, we really saw the AFC. We just saw all those teams beat each other up. The top team had 12 wins, 12-5, the Tennessee Titans. A lot of teams hovering at that 500 mark, making a push for the playoffs in the remaining weeks. I mean, it's just a very tight, competitive conference. Anybody's guess who will end up making it in. So, the Denver Broncos definitely just improved their chances to do that. And on the Seahawks side of things, the Seahawks, as I said, they've gotten pretty worse over time. The past few years, it feels like year after year after year, they've declined and gotten worse and worse. Maybe a bump here, but then worse and worse and worse. They just had their first losing season with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. So, they're kind of entering a full rebuild mode. They now no longer have a quarterback. And, I don't expect the Broncos to finish poorly. So it's not like those first-round picks they're going to get from the Broncos are going to be any good. They're going to be probably pretty low first-round picks. So, and it's not like the Seahawks have proven capable of drafting well these past few years. They've had terrible drafts. I mean, their drafts have been garbage, and as a result, their team has struggled. They haven't been filling their team through free agency. So, this team, and not only that, but the NFC just got a little weaker, obviously. But across a weak NFC team, this is one of the toughest divisions in football, the NFC West. And now they are by far the worst team in the NFC. They are the only rebuilding team in that division now. This is a team that'll be lucky if they have a winning record next year. And maybe they know that. I don't know. But this is a sad, if you're a Seahawks fan, this is a sad day for you, because your team has just decided, yeah, we're going to reset. We're going to reset, and we're going to just rebuild. And yeah, they get Noah Fant, who's a tight end. They get Shelby Harris, who's a pretty good defensive lineman, but, Drew Lock's not a quality starter. And quite honestly, I look at the Seahawks, I don't think, they need a tight end. Sure, but they have a few other needs outside of tight end. They need to rebuild that offensive line. They need to get a solid run game that will not get hurt every year. Their defense has been poop. They have a lot of holes on this team, and they play, again, in the most competitive division in the conference. So, really very sad for the Seahawks. They got a long way to go. It's been a long way down, and it's finally, you hope, knock on wood, but you hope it's bottomed out. I think the last thing I'll go ahead and say is I think the expectation, obviously, for Russell Wilson now is to win the Super Bowl, and I think it'll be painted as, well, if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, anything short of a Super Bowl will be a disappointment. And I have to say, I feel that sentiment, but I don't know how much I agree with it. I think Russell Wilson looked at this team and said, look, this team is not getting any better. This team, as it stands right now, even with me as the starter, is 2 years away from competing. In this conference, it's going to take this offseason, and it's going to take next offseason. And we're going to have to have some pretty solid off seasons if we really want to improve to the level that we need to be competitive. And by the time that happens, he's going to be, 34 years old? So, this isn't like it would have been with Aaron Rodgers leaving, where if Aaron Rodgers had left the Packers, it's like, okay, so you left a team that's already kind of a contender and in prime spot to contend, and you went to a team that's a little better, and maybe in a little bit more of a spot to contend. had that happened, the expectation's totally different. If you left a team that was a contender to go to a team that's even more of a contender, if you don't win a Super Bowl here, you're the problem. Russell Wilson was leaving a situation that was bad and only getting worse. So I don't blame him for doing this. I don't view this decision as you have to win a Super Bowl or else this is a failure, Russell. And if you, like, obviously he's probably going to think that because, he's a competitor. He wants to win a Super Bowl. But I think this was Russell Wilson trying to put himself in a position where he has a better chance to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think now it's just fair. I think now it's nice because he now finally has a realistic chance at competing for one. It's finally like, okay, I finally have the team around me that I need to be competitive. Now I have a chance to win it. Will he win it? I don't know. Again, it's a tough conference, but, I think it's a solid move for Russell Wilson. I think, again, it gives him the best chance to do it. And, had he remained in Seattle, he would have not had a chance at all. So, I totally understand the move. I totally get why he did it. I think any reasonable person, given the opportunity, probably would have done the same thing. I don't see why you would want to stay in a situation that is not conducive to you reaching your ultimate goal, especially after you've already done it. Like, he's already won a Super Bowl, I mean, there is that taste of, we got to get back. Why haven't we been back yet? I'm supposed to have this coach that some people say is a Hall of Famer. I had the best defense in the league all these years ago, and now our team's just garbage across the board, minus me, DK Metcalf, and oh gosh, his name is slipping my head. I apologize. Their second receiver. I apologize. But the point is yeah, this is a team that's been lacking for years, and Russell Wilson now has a chance to really compete. So congrats to him. We'll see how it goes.